What's going on, everybody? Zach and Heather back with another episode of Unchained, and we're going to just kind of roll right on into this one, following the last one, which was overcoming your trauma. So this one's not probably going to be as in-depth because we'll probably peel back some of the onion layers of this specific topic quite a bit more in some other episodes, but we're going to talk about mental health. And I know that's a broad category, and there's a lot of different directions we can go with it. So I want to just probably leave this one a little bit more in tune with just like what our personal experiences have been with like the good, bad, ugly, and probably maybe a little bit about like what we're doing now to kind of get to where we're at. Because I feel like we're both in a pretty stable mental space
some days,
for the most part. Yeah. You're crazier more days than some, but
okay.
Well, what do you got for us? What
No, I mean, for me, mental health, it's super important, and I don't think it's talked about enough, especially on the men's side. It's men get made fun of for, you know, being emotional and coming out and talking about certain things and things like that, and I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's right. You know, we saw how Will Smith had his breakdown, you know what I mean? And like everyone made a joke about it.
Do we support him? Like, is he like,
man, I don't know. That's really like, I don't support you going up and just fucking slapping somebody.
oh, I do.
But wait,
I mean, it cost me 9 hours in jail and $10,000.
But that's the thing. Like, it just cost him everything.
No,
you know what I mean? And I think that's ridiculous because that was the thing. Like,
we don't promote violence. Okay, let's just do this little preface.
Like, I don't think.
But I didn't know. I don't watch the tabloids and all that. I didn't know. Like,
I don't think it was the right thing to do. But also, then it's on the other hand, it's like, well, he is also standing up for his wife. I don't fucking like his wife. I think she's an awful person.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
And there's stories behind that too. But like, she has this show called like The Red Table or something. I don't know. And like her and her daughter and her mom, I think, they all sit at the table and they discuss things and they have guests or whatever. Well, they did one where it was him and her, and she came out and was like, yeah, I slept with this other guy and I did this and I did that. And like, he's just sitting there like bawling, crying because he's upset.
Oh, that's
like,
where the meme came from.
And exactly. So that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, I mean, if he's truly in love with his wife and she's sitting there like, yeah, I just slept with this dude and whatever, like, he has every right to be fucking mad and upset and cry, but it was made into a joke. And I just don't think that's fair.
Yeah,
like, you know, I think men...
I'd have punched you right then and there. Just kidding. Oh, my God.
Good job, babe.
I swear to God. All right, so we got jokes, and we literally just had an episode on this. I probably shouldn't have joked about it. You are crazy.
But, yeah, I mean, that's just, like, my thing on it. Like, I think mental health is a very big deal. Like, for men and women. Yeah. I think it does need to be more out there for the guys, just like, not because that's, you know, guys are better, like all that bullshit, like just because it needs to be discussed. It is a need. Like you getting like a lot of that out and that trauma out and heal can help you be a better person. Like I said, I think it was the last episode, I think if my dad would have had help and got his trauma out and discussed it with someone or whatever, however he would have went about it, it could have completely changed his life. So mental health to me is very important. I don't think it's something to really like fuck around with.
No, I mean, I definitely agree. I mean, mental health, let's think about it and what it is. I mean, you know, someone goes and shoots up a school. What's the first thing we try to do is throw them in like some sort of, now we care about their mental health, you know? So like obviously I don't mean any like sideways jokes about like a school shooting or anything, but that is a mentally fucked up person to do something like that. And so my point is the gravity of having that poison in your head can definitely go. I mean, shit, the world craze just a couple of months ago was the whole Dahmer, you know, Netflix series.
Such a good show.
It was a good.
So Ryan Evans, such a good show.
Before, without me acting like we're some type of wild. We were intrigued in the Dahmer series and case way before this series came out, but I felt like it was a pretty good depiction on like the actual history of Dahmer, and I think they got the actors
I don't know why
right.
I can't think of his Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy, yeah.
I don't know why I just blanked out. He did such a great job at showing like what Dahmer did, but also like what was going through his head. Now, obviously, like we have to just take off of the you know, the documentaries and like the old recordings of him, but like he did such a good job at just getting that out there of what was in his head. And I mean, it was not normal shit.
Yeah, but that's like clearly another, you know, extreme version of like bad mental health. Yeah. And, you know, my point of bringing all this stuff up is like, could we have cured some of this stuff prior to it getting that bad? Or could we have at least seen some, you know, common denominators in the actions and things of that nature? And what do we learn from that? Obviously, I know there's people that study these, you know, serial killers, you know, on a neurological level to see what triggers them. But,
have you seen the ones that have like the pictures of their brains that are cut in half? And like, oh my, I'm weird, y'all. I'm so intrigued by all that stuff. So,
you know, but like, you know, I don't know. I might be a strange case because for many of y'all who have followed me since like my motorcycle wreck and stuff like that, I'm very, when it comes to like suicide and anxiety and depression and stuff like that, I've got a very strange approach about it because
it really does, y'all.
Well, up to my wreck, I'd never experienced like depression or anxiety. You know, I would say we have like a normal life growing up. I mean, obviously my parents made me mad and like I went through heartbreak and or whatever else, but like outside of just being like just sad, I don't truly think to the definition I ever went through like a depressive state. I don't think I ever really truly went through like anxiety. So at an adult point of my life when the motorcycle wreck happened and I went through the divorce and the motorcycle wreck and losing everything, that's when I experienced depression and anxiety for the first time, to my knowledge, at least in something that I could cognitively be like, that is what this is.
Right.
And I mean, even so much so that, you know, for 2 or 3 years afterwards, I had really bad panic attacks. And I mean, horrible. Like, we're talking panic attacks so bad that one of my Shelby County sheriff friends were over at one point in time when I actually went through one. And he
That's
told
in Memphis for people who are like, what the fuck is that?
Oh, yeah, a sheriff. And he actually told my parents to call 911 that I was having a heart attack. Like, it was really, really intense. But that was my first experience on understanding anything of that gravity. Now, you fast forward to where I am today, and I'm very mentally healthy. I mean, I still have, you know, we all still have our hard days. Many of y'all know we own our own businesses, and we employ a lot of people, so there's a lot of stress that can come down on you. But, like, I guess... Sorry about that beep. You know, for me, I don't know. I don't know if it's my personality or where my mental state is now, or the fact that I don't give a fuck and will say anything at any time, no matter who's around. I will say what's on my mind. I don't really, because I don't see it. It's not top of mind for me, the suppression of men and their abilities to or not to speak about, you know, their mental health. I mean, I obviously know it's a big deal with my guys in the world, but like for me, it's just not top of mind because I'm not like I feel like I can come to you about anything and talk to you about anything, and I already say whatever's on my mind. So for me, it's like I don't feel like I'm suppressed when it comes to my mental health. Like I feel like I'm an open book enough on social media that I show the good and the bad. So for me, I don't really have a whole lot of weight on my shoulders when it comes to that, but like I do know it's a very serious situation.
I mean, not just the Will Smith situation, you know, we also had not too long ago the Johnny Depp situation, and like that's my man. I love that dude.
I'm your fucking man.
You know what I mean? Like I've been watching Johnny Depp since like, was that Cry Baby? Like just like way back in the day. But like to hear him like come out and be like, she was beating the shit out of me, and like she would shit on my bed, like that bitch was wild. But like all the stuff she was doing to him, like it was one of those things where it's like, you know, if you say it, they're not going to believe you because you're the man, and you shouldn't let a woman do that to you, and you can overpower and whatever. But like that's not him anyway. It's right. He's very open and vocal about things, but like you have the whole aspect of either they're not going to believe you, or because you're a man, you shouldn't talk.
Yeah.
So, like, there are a lot of men, especially, like, in the generations above us, that still have that, you know, I'm the man, I'm alpha, I'm provider, and I'm hard ass and whatever. And that's where that kind of comes into play.
Yeah, you know, I guess I'll say too, because I want to back up, because I don't want it to sound like I got my shit together when it comes to my mental health. Because like I guess the thing is like I am such an open book. Like my point was, it's not that I don't have hard days or bad days or shit that like does come down on me, and because actually now I do have like anxiety moments when we're in big situations and stuff like that. So I don't want it to sound like that. What my point behind that was is like I'm open to talking about it. So like I don't feel like I have, if I am being anxious, I am 100% comfortable telling Heather like, hey, like I'm anxious right now, like, you know, and she knows what that means and how to kind of handle that, whether that be take some work off my plate or leave me the fuck alone or fuck me, I don't know, whatever, you let me cry to her, whatever the case is. So like for me, it's just not like I feel like there's like a closed door, because like yes, I still experience that. I'm human, I'm an adult, I have a wife, I have a daughter, I have responsibilities, I have financial, you know, shit I gotta handle, you know, a lot of it, you know, we've been through some bad shit. I mean, if y'all followed us, you know, we've had clients do $70,000 chargebacks. We've had employees walk away with 2 or 3 of our 6-figure clients. Like we've been sued. We've been, you know, the whole 9 yards. So like, I don't want it to sound like that, but like I genuinely am in such a good place because I don't give a flying fuck what anyone else out there thinks. So like I don't ever, dude, I should really be wearing these hats when I do these episodes. I got this anti-guru hat hanging up, and like I fucking hate these fake fucks that will go on, because you know many of y'all know I speak on stages a lot, go to masterminds a lot, and you know hold chairs for organizations, and you know the whole 9 yards. So I'm around a lot of important quote unquote people. And, you know, it's funny because I'll see these people be one type of way on stage, but in the green room, they're completely the opposite. I'll see them on social media one way, but, you know, in real life, they're the complete opposite. I'll see them with their, you know, spouses and children and families, and they'll be one way, and I'll go out drinking with them in a bar, and they'll be a complete opposite. You know, it's so for me, I have zero stress or anxiety or weight on my shoulders when it comes to like who Zack is as a person, because like I am an open book and I don't give a shit what anyone thinks. So like for me, I go through those experiences, but maybe that is the key, is I guess maybe I missed the part where we were supposed to be told not to talk about things, because like maybe that's my like, maybe that's how I skip past a lot of that shit. Cause like, you know, for me, yeah, we have hard days relationship wise. Yes, we have hard days with the business. Yes, we have hard days with our child. Like, you know, we have hard days, you know, but for me, it's, you know, I've gone to a point where theoretically, a majority of the time, not all the times, but if it's not going to matter in 5 years, I really try not to spend 5 minutes like stressing about it.
Well, I mean, maybe when, like, as you were growing up, like, you learned certain ways to go about things, and that's why you are the way you are. Or it could be that after your wreck and after you hit that rock bottom, you actually, like, healed from it. You grew from it and you learned from it, obviously. But maybe that's where all of that came into play, where that's why you are the way you are now. You know, like you went through a death situation. So like maybe that is in your brain. You're like, I don't have time for that. Life's too short. You know, like I'm okay with being open and honest and just getting through everything.
Yeah. I mean, when you go through a situation like that, like a lot of things come into clarity, I guess you could say, of what's important, what's not important, what's worth your time, what's not. Because I mean, I was at the time I was 22 years old, minding my own business. Like, it was a typical day. Like, it was a Saturday. I just got done riding my motorcycle with all my homies. We had been hanging out. I'm on my way home. I'd already sent out that text, yo, we're meeting up, we're hitting the club, whatever, and already made arrangements, got in the booth reserved, the whole 9 yards. And it was literally a typical day. It was a beautiful day. And, there I am fighting for my life. And, so I think it put a lot of things in perspective. And I don't know, honestly. Anyways, I'm looking over at this bookshelf I have, and, I see a lot of self-help books there. And now it's not, it's always funny when I talk about like self-help and visualizations and affirmations and declarations and stuff like that, to most specifically to men, I would say, that I get this like kind of negative look at it. And it's like, for me, there's different strokes for different folks. Like, some guys like more of the pick me up, yes man bullshit. And that's cool. That's what you like. That's not what I like. For me, I am, as you guys know, I run Uncaged, which is a accountability group. And for them, I preface all the men that come through there, and I let them know, like, this is a mirror, right? I'm just talking to myself. Y'all just happen to be in the room, because like, I don't want them to think that I'm like saying some shit to them that I don't say to my own self in my head. So I'm very aggressive with myself, so a lot of the stuff that I read, it's not as much of the pick me up stuff as it is the like action steps. Like, let's really actually fix the fucking problem instead of a bunch of rah-rah kumbaya stuff. So like, when I talk about it, because especially like the affirmations and declarations and stuff, like I get some guys.
Affirmations get it so hard.
They do. And I understand too, because like there's a lot of my homies that live by their affirmations, and some will even correct you and be like, they're not affirmations, they're declarations. And like, listen, I don't care what works for you. I'm just saying, I'm not going to stand in front of a mirror butt ass naked and say, you are the man. I love me 100 times. So like, do you and what works for you. But the books and stuff that I read, it's like, it's more about the intention behind what is the issue that I'm trying to accomplish, find something that speaks on that, and then actually consume it with the conceptualization of like, I'm going to apply this to my life, no matter what it says. Because I can't tell you, I've had to correct some people here or there that'll like post on social media, and they'll be like, yeah, I read this book from this guy because he's in this great position and his life is perfect. And I read his book, but I'm not doing any of the shit that's in there. And I'm like,
why the fuck did you read it?
Well, why did you read it? But like, you've got someone who's in a position that you want to be in, and they are telling you how they got there. And
word for word.
You think that your way is better. Meanwhile, you're still in the same position that you're in. So like, for me, it was, and maybe this is something that we should talk about, and about, to men specifically, but is like actually figuring out the problem.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you figure out the problem, that's where you can start to heal. That's where you start to learn.
I feel like a lot of men know the problem though,
but they don't want to admit it.
But
here's the thing too. So when, you sit here and you're like, oh, I don't do all that rah-rah bullshit. Well, maybe it's not bullshit to someone.
No, you're right.
So like, it may be that those people are like, well, I'm not going to go to him for help because he doesn't believe that the things that I believe in are correct.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, everybody works through their mental health differently. And I don't give a fuck what you like.
Right.
But if it works for you, then please fucking do it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, I think that's a big thing too, that yeah, you may not want to have a yes man, but sometimes you need that yes man to get you to keep going through those action steps that you're taking from your hardcore books that you have.
Yeah. I mean, this is what's interesting about this channel, because this is like us really kind of working through this, because like I actually disagree. I'm not saying that I'm not willing to like see your perspective, but for me, and maybe it could be just like loss of terminology. Because for me, when I hear yes man, like yes man to me is just someone that just agrees with you and agrees with you and agrees with you and agrees with you no matter what you say.
Maybe I mean like hype man.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that's what I mean.
because like for me, and the rah rah stuff, it works, and this is why. Well,
you cannot tell me that your dick doesn't get hard when I come up to you. I'm like, fuck yeah, baby, good job. I'm so proud you did that.
No, it does.
You know what
and
I mean?
I think we're missing I think we're missing each other here because what I'm getting at is like I'm all about motivation and inspiration, like 100%. Obviously, look at my channel, but with that, you have to have like action steps, and you have to be able to be called out. So maybe this is where this disconnect came from. You have to be able to be called out on your bullshit, and I think I agree. I think that's where I was getting at, and maybe I just said it wrong because a lot of times the rah stuff, the way I'm saying it, it's not about not motivating and inspiring because I do that all the time, but it's the like, oh hey, that's happening over there. Let's look at this over here and let's not even worry about that. Let's pretend it's like smoke and mirrors almost, So for me, it's about getting really, really serious and getting action steps. That's the biggest thing that like, and this isn't for me to toot my own horn, but I can see where there's a lack of this in the world because one of the biggest compliments I get, whether it's on podcasts, speaking, or, the book or whatever the case is like, you give like actual action items to then go implement the education to their life. It's not just like, oh, bro, woo, we're going to get really excited. We're going to sit around and suck each other's dicks and get everyone really, really hype. And then it's like, all right, 3 days later, everyone's back home. They're back in their regular. They got stuck right back into the regular grind and nothing got implemented. So for me, it's like, all right, let's go read some books to figure out what the issue is and figure out what the problem is. But then let's get really deep into taking what the lessons are and actually applying it to your life to make a difference instead of just getting right back into the same cycle.
No, I agree with all that. Yeah. I think you need both in life.
Yeah.
I think you need your rah-rah books and I think you need your action step books. Because some people don't do well with just straight action steps. Sometimes they need that motivation, which is where you throw that rah-rah book in. Right. And that's what I mean by that.
No, I can get behind that, and I'll get behind you any day. But, for me, I want to kind of pull my own self, my ADHD back into this because, like...
mental health.
Yeah, mental health. I think I'm in a really good place because, like, I actually, like, apply it. Like, some of the stuff... if you're listening to this and be like, there's no way in hell I'd ever be doing some affirmations. It
ain't that bad.
I might have been there at one point in time, but I was able to set my ego aside and like do the affirmations, dog, do the declarations, bro, do the storyboards or do the vision boards, vision cast, do your visualization. And you know what? I'm letting you know I'm in a great place and I do a lot of that stuff, and probably one of the best things that ever happened to me was visualizations. Like I got that out of doing phase 1 on the 75 hard program. You got to do 10 minutes of visualization. And at first I was like, man, you doing this lame ass shit, bro. And then I did it and I was like, holy crap, I feel 10 pounds lighter. Like I got to really think about like where all we came from to where we're at. And then like I got to see in my head where all we're going. And like, I do mine in my truck as soon as I get home from the gym, and I turn my music off. My windows are already rolled down, but I'll just like let the air flow through. It's completely quiet. I hear birds chirping and a wind blowing and stuff like that. But I'll just sit there, close my eyes, do my 10 minutes of visualization. So when I get out of the truck, I'm like, damn, it's like a new fucking day, bro.
It's not a bad thing to do all that. It's not a bad thing to do affirmations. Like, I don't think you have to like stand there in the mirror and be like, you're the fucking man. Like, no, like it could literally be anything. Just be like, I'm a good father. Yeah. Like I'm going to kill the day at work. You know, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be like you. It can just be that you're going to do good, put good in the world, things like that.
It's keeping that stuff top of mind. You know, if I can give a book recommendation, I would say Law of Attraction. It's the number one book that and what I mean by number one book, obviously my book's number one book, but what I mean
mine's not out yet.
Right. The reason it's my number one book is that's the first book I recommend anyone reading. It's easy to read, but the power of it is just the magnitude of it. It's insane. And, you know, it's keeping this stuff top of mind, right? And it's reminding yourself who you are and what you do. And I think it's super powerful because, like, for me, like, man, I've been doing this for so long as far as like the self-help books and the motivation and inspiration books and like taking things and actually applying them that like, I don't know if I could pinpoint like where I am mentally to just one thing, because maybe that one thing is like actually like putting your ego aside and trying this stuff to see what works for you. Because what works for me is probably not going to work for you, or it might not work for you. It'll work for some of y'all, but like I would have never known what worked for me if I never tried it, you know? And so for me, like it comes down to, you know, how successful I am in my business. That leads to me being, I think, mentally in a stable place. I got there because I was able to put my ego aside and realize that there was other people that could teach me things. You know, my finances are, you know, in a good place, or at least heading in a good place, because I was able to put my ego aside and let people that were better than me, you know, educate me on that. That's led to a healthy place. You know, relationship wise, you know, we're in an amazing place because we put our ego aside and we're allowing other people to give their wisdom and insight. And whether that might be each other to each other or an outside third party, whether that be, you know, some of these mentors that we have or therapists or whatever. And that has led to, you know, mental health. So like all these individual things apply to the mental stability that I currently have. And I think there's not one thing that like just overnight turned me into this like mentally okay like dude, but it was like learning that like all right, so like I don't know what, I'm an aggressive person, I guess. I'm tattooed. I work loud as fuck. I work out. I used to get
obnoxious.
Okay, bro, calm down. We're over here talking about mental health and you're putting me in the hole. You know, I used to get in the cage and fight people. Like, I ride motorcycles, I drive big trucks and cool cars and this and that and whatever. And it's like, what? You know, and at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I get put into a certain stereotype or whatever. And then it's like, you know, when I start talking to people and they're like, dang, bro, like, you do all that stuff? I'm like, yeah, bro. And like, really? I'm like, yeah, dude, like I cried like 2 days ago. You know, like.
But that goes back to the whole mentality of how men should not be showing their emotions.
But my point was, and this is because like I feel like what I'm about to say is like a self-proclamation, and it's not that. Like theoretically, like I'm a cool guy, right? I'm tattooed. I've got muscles. I drive a cool car. I got a hot wife. Like I fight people in a cage, like whatever. You know, what's fucking cool, bro?
Me
being being mentally stable, you know? So like if people can look at me and be like, oh, he's cool because of this, and this, and it's like, would you rather be considered cool? Because like
you got your head on your
toes, you don't give a fuck about nothing, about nobody. No one can upset you. No one can deter you from your path. No one can say something and fuck with my relationship. No one can say that I'm a bad husband. No one can say that I'm a bad father. No one can say I'm a bad business owner. Like, and all this stuff is because I started focusing on what it was going to take to fix my mental health, how I needed it, which was my health, which was my wealth, which was my relationships, which was, you know, my faith, my family, my finances, like all this stuff. Like I knew if I could get to the root of the problem and fix the root of the problem, the rest would handle itself.
No, I agree with all that.
What about you? What do you do for your mental health? How do you? Because I feel like you're like 2 months out of the 2 days out of the month. I feel like you're a somewhat normal person.
Oh, okay. No, I mean, for me, it's different for me because, you know, I was in like a really bad health situation.
Yeah.
So like that put me a lot deeper in the hole mentally. And like it took a lot to, again, for me, like I do everything myself. So like I do all my own research. I figure out what the fuck's wrong and I go from there, and then I take this class, I do this, I read this book or talk to this person or whatever. But like I was in a bad health situation. So that wasn't helping mentally because your gut is a brain and then you have your actual brain. So like so both of those were off. So I was just fucked.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it was. But I did all my research and I did everything I needed to do to start figuring that out. You know, like going to the gym helped me a lot. I wasn't losing the weight. So like that was keeping that, you know, seesaw kind of still in the middle. But it was, you know, I was starting to feel better. I was making a good habit for myself. So then it was like, okay, well, let's kind of go down this way a little bit because you're starting to feel better about yourself. So it was just all of that really helped me, you know, I think finally coming to the root problem of all my trauma, you know, like figuring out it was from my childhood and my dad and all of that. I think once I finally pinpointed that one thing, I got to work on it from that point. And so, like, I got to find the health books about bringing yourself back up or, you know, the boundaries, setting boundaries and not letting people just walk fucking all over you, how to control your anger, because I do have an anger problem. That's what I've watched my entire life. That's all I knew. So, I mean, for me, I pinpointed the problems and issues that I had and figured out how to work on those exact problems, which all led to just being like, oh shit, everything's fixed, you know, and I healed. So the help books and the research, the fucking just going outside and breathing. Yeah. Like that helped me ground myself so much.
You know, I'm seeing some common denominators in our stories that I think is to give y'all some action steps, you know, but honestly, like we want these episodes to change your life. And so the common denominators I'm hearing is find the root of the problem and research the problem. Right. And so for me, I would encourage you guys to, and you might be like, yeah, bro, like it's easy for you to fucking say, like I've been trying.
Everything's easier said than done.
Yeah. Well, like I want to give them at least a strategy to start with. So for me, I would say like, so don't quote me on this. There, you should be able to do some research and DM me if you really want to find it, because I'll by that time have found the link and I can send it to you. It's like 7 times or 9 times that you're supposed to ask the word why, right? Now, for me, I utilize this in marketing because I want to find out why a consumer wants to purchase a product or service, the true reason, not because they just want the product or service. It's what that product or service does for them. So for me, I would kind of banter back and forth with you. Like, I'm not a therapist by any means, but like say if I was trying to help you work through a problem, like, what's your problem? Well, I have a problem with men. Okay, well, here's the why question. And it's like you ask it like 7 or 9 times to get that deep. Okay, well, why do you have men problems? Well, I have problems with men because every relationship I've been with have been nothing but red flags and taking advantage of me. Okay, well, why has that caused a problem? Well, I've gotten in a mental funk because of that, because the more that I experience these kinds of guys, the more I find myself attracting these kinds of guys. Okay, well, why has that become a problem? Because ultimately I want to date a good man, you know, and then I'm like, okay, well, why do you want to date a good man? Well, growing up, you know, I had experiences with my dad that was a negative, you know, outlook on what a quote unquote ideal man or husband supposed to look like. Okay, well, why is that important to you, right? And you really start to get deep into, because again, guys, like we've both said, get to the root of the problem. We haven't said like what's the problem. It's the root of the problem, because that root of that problem,
that's where it all starts.
Yeah, well, it could cause multiple problems. You know. And so from that point on, it's like once you're able to get to the root of the problem, now we have a basis to start to heal and start to go find ourselves again. Absolutely. And uncover that truth that we've been looking for the whole time, just in all the wrong places.
No, I agree with that. Like I said, when I pinpointed, like, okay, so it's my childhood. It was my dad being angry all the time. It was my dad yelling. It was this, it was that. I was like, well, that's where that anger problem that I have comes from. That's where, me being, I say I'm sorry a lot, and I explain myself a lot. And I have realized that's because I was yelled at a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding, guys.
But I realized that's because I was yelled at a lot, and so it would scare me, and I'm like, I'm so sorry, and and explain why I did whatever I did. So, like, looking back at the starting point of where, for me, my life began, I was able to pinpoint that's why I do this, and that's why I do that, and that's why this happens. So this is now what I need to research to figure out what I have to do for each and everything. Yeah.
No, I love that. And again, I think, mental health is
so important.
It really is because, like, when I'm coaching my guys, and for those of you who don't know, so, like, obviously this is the Unchained, podcast, but I have Uncaged, which is a men's only accountability group, and Heather has Unleashed, which is a women's only empowerment and healing group. And, so when I talk to, whether it be consulting, coaching, or just as homies, whether it be a man that I'm speaking to or a woman I'm speaking to, at the end of the day, you can only control yourself. Right. And there's going to be a lot of curveballs that come your way. You're going to have to learn to pivot. And anytime something doesn't go ideally for you or exactly the way you thought it would be. And let's think about how often that ever fucking happens. It's very rare. So the cards are stacked against you. The cards are stacked for you to constantly just be putting negative thoughts and negativity into your mental space. And if you start to think about that, and it comes to the point where you have to understand who the enemy is. You have to be able to recognize the enemy so that you can fight off the enemy. And once you start recognizing what the world is trying to do to you by fuck with your mental state, you can then come to a point where you're not going to allow that person or that to happen. It's like, if you've got like this like hater, right? Like you got some chick that doesn't like you, right? And she comes up trying to say some shit. You already know what it is. Like you already know she's trying to fuck with you. So you're like not even going to take it into consideration. Yep. It's the same thing. The world does the same thing. As soon as you start to recognize that that's all that's happening, when the negative situation happens, it's like, nope. I ain't gonna let it fuck with me. I ain't gonna let it throw me off. I've got all this other good stuff going on, and that's what I'm gonna focus on. The law of attraction is gonna help with that. But
I do have to say too, like, I think a lot of people, they don't understand the fact that, like, if someone is close to you that's causing your mental health to become negative, it's okay to get rid of them.
Oh, 100%.
So, like,
maybe that needs to be the next episode. Cutting off some dead weight.
Yeah, like a toxic. But, like, that's the thing, too. Like, I think that should be an episode because we have a lot of that around us. But, like, your mental health. It ain't nothing to cut that bitch off. Your mental health, like, it does involve the people you surround yourself
100%. 100%.
And it's okay to get rid of those people that are not helping you and keeping things negative or making you reach certain, like, limits that like, for me, there's this one person in my life that knows every button to push and loves to do it. And it gets me to a point where I'm, like, screaming, yelling, and then I have to stop and be like, Christ, like, no, we're not doing this. And it's either you quit doing this or I'm leaving and never talking to you again because you are completely fucking with my mental health and I'm not having that anymore. So, like, I think that's maybe that can be a whole nother episode, but, like, your mental health, like, you have to change it. You have to work for it, but you also can't be scared of letting go of the things that are causing your mental health to lessen. Like, whether that's people that's in your family, your friends, whatever, like, you need to get rid of what's causing those issues in your life so you can move on to healing, period.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of research that you are the average of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. And a lot of times people, it gets thrown around in the entrepreneurial world quite a bit. And a lot of people think that it really just kind of dictates towards the business side of things or whatever. But it's like, no, it applies to everything. Like, if you want to be a piece of shit, go hang out with pieces of shit, right? It's just as plain and simple. Like, if you're an alcoholic right now, why don't you take a look at the people that you surround yourself with, right? If you're, a phenomenal Bible thumping Christian, look at it. It's probably because you're around people that have those same core beliefs. I'm not knocking that. I'm saying, like, if you're there, it goes both ways. If you're in a perfect situation in your life right now, look at the people around you. They're probably in great fucking places too. Yeah. So it's you start looking at who are the people that you want to emulate. I'm not saying that you're not happy with who you are, but like people that are in positions that you would also like yourself and your family and your lifestyle to look like. Start hanging out with them, and you're going to start seeing signs, of your life reflecting that. But I think we're coming up on the end of it. Is there anything? I think this is like definitely within your wheelhouse. You're like the broken person magnet, and I mean that. I mean that in the best way, because I love it. I love watching, and I see a lot of this in my own life too, but more so because I guess I get to watch it in yours. But like, it truly is nothing outside of amazing when you can see someone come talk to myself or talk to Heather that truly is broken, like loss of hope, loss of desire, loss of ambition, and have, a conversation or conversations, and you kind of start to see that twinkle in their eye come back, and those tears dry up, those shoulders roll back a little bit, and that head gets held a little higher. So you're really good at that. Like, if someone's listening, like, what's some words of advice you can kind of leave them with? Because, I would assume that if they've made it this far, they're hungry for more.
Yeah. Always, I'm here. Like, I tell everybody that, especially in my group, like, you can always message me and I will get back to you. Someone just yesterday, I was on a call for over an hour because they were just, letting all of it out and asking for advice. So, like, mental health is a big deal, and it should be dealt as a big deal. So, like, if you're in that realm where you're like, something's wrong, my life's just not going right, like, this is happening, like, take a step back and, like, take an aerial view. Bobby Castro taught us this in Cabo. That sounded so bougie. But take an aerial view back and, like, look at what's going on in your life. Look at what you are doing, and then look at what's surrounding, and keep getting bigger and bigger, and keep watching what's going on around you. Look back into your past at things that have happened to you and see where, you've had negative, traumatic things happen, and see how you dealt with it, or see who was involved with it. Like, dive deep into your life to figure out where your problems are stemming from, and then start researching from that to how to fix it. Whether it's talking to someone, whether maybe it's just there's a book you need to read that has the action steps in it, and then a little bit of rah-rah to keep you going. I always say this, do the fucking research, do the work, do fucking better. Like, it's you, this is your life. You're the only one that can change it. So you need to make those initial steps to do it. And that's my biggest thing, is take that big step back and look in and see the problems and start fixing them from there. And you'll notice each time you fix something, something else will get better. And then on, and then on, and then everything is better. And then you're in a good, healed spot.
No, I agree 100%. So, we love these episodes, or at least I do.
They're fun.
Yeah. And I hope that you're getting something out of this, because this really is for you guys. It helps us out as much talking about it, because this is like a therapy session for us, just kind of talk about topics, catch up on some things, see where each other's heads at, catch some, feel the pulse. But, if you got something out of this, give it a share if you don't mind, because I'm sure there's one person that that secretly is dealing with this and needs some help there. So if you don't mind, do that for us. But outside of that, my name's Zach. This is Heather, and this is another episode of Unchained. We appreciate it, and we'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye, guys.